This week we're going to get into creating some interesting masking effects using clipping groups inside Photoshop. And it's simply a way of revealing one layer through the pixels of another layer. And what we're going to do is actually create a custom shape to reveal this image through. So you can see here I have an image of this singer. And I want to make this into a design and make it a little bit more interesting looking by masking it inside of a custom shape that I create. So what I'm going to do is actually go over here to my toolbar and grab my pen tool right here. And I do want to go up here in the options bar, and you'll notice that we've got 3 icons up here for the different types of paths we can create. Right up here at the top, you've got this first one, which generates shape layers. Second one will generate just regular paths. And you've got a third one that will do a pixel fill on the object that you draw out. Well, in this case, we want to go ahead and create a shape layer. So I'm going to go and click on that. And over here in the document, I'm going to click on the outside of this image, a little bit beyond the boundaries here. And notice when I've clicked, what it's done over here in the layers panel. It's gone ahead and created a new shape layer for me automatically. So I'm going to continue to draw a path around this shape. And let's just go in here and give this a little bit of a bend of a shape there. And we'll come around here. I'm not being overly precise, because we're going to modify the shape even after we've finished drawing it here. So it's going to come back beyond the boundaries and close up the shape. Now, you can see it's filled with white, or rather it's filled with black. I want to be able to see a little bit more what's going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that layer and go ahead and fill it with white. And there we have our shape. So it looks good. To be able to do what we're going to do next, we're going to have to rasterize this layer. You notice that it is a shape layer, which is basically a solid color fill with a vector mask on it. Well, I might just in case I need to come back to this original shape, I am going to go ahead and create a duplicate of it before I rasterize. That way I can come back to it and not have to start all over again. So with this duplicate selected, I'm going to hold down my control key or simply right click on it and then choose rasterize layer from the menu. So it's gone ahead and turn that into a regular shape. So we'll just kind of squeeze this in a little bit. So there we've got our shape all set to go. And it's rasterized. So now what we're going to do is go over here and grab our elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to hold down my shift key and draw out a small circle. I think I might draw it out a little bit bigger than that. There we go. Then over here in the filter menu, we're going to go down here to distort and choose twirl. And you can see it's giving me, I'm going to push it all the way up to 999. It gives me kind of an interesting twirl there. Well, what I'm going to do now is pick some other random points of this shape and just drag the selection. If you drag inside the selection, it'll turn into a selection move tool. Just reposition it at another point on this shape and then simply press Command or Control F and it applies that same filter. And I'm just going to go around, and you want to position it at different parts on the edge. We are going along the edge here, but a little bit further on the outside, a little bit further on the inside. You're going to give a different result every time. Command or Control F. Drag it over here. We'll do the same thing here. Now I'm keeping some space in between the different areas I apply it to, because you'll notice that the twirl is only going in one direction. Now if you do the whole thing in that particular direction, it might tend to be noticed. So let's go do a few more here, and we'll do that one there, and let's do one more right here. So now what I'm going to do is take that same selection, drag it over here, and we're going to go back into that filter menu and go to distort once more, twirl, and this time drag it to the negative 999. And you'll notice the twirl is now going the other direction. So let's go in here and apply that to other areas next to the other twirls we've already created. And you can also double up. If you Command or Control F a couple of times in the same area, you'll get a more intense effect. You can even, if you like, go over here in the Select menu, we'll go to Transform Selection. We can even make the size of the effect bigger or smaller, depending on what you want to do. Just like that. Looks pretty cool. Go over here, we'll just give this a little bit of a nudge there. Just go around trying different ones. If you want to go back and redo the other direction, of course, you can certainly do that. You don't have to go to the full $9.99 if you don't want. You can keep it in a relatively low setting. I just like to go on that, and then if I want to intensify it, just press Command or Control F. And we'll do that there. Try and get all those edges from the original shape distorted in some way. So I think that's looking pretty good. Let's do one more right here. That looks pretty good. Maybe we'll get this little area right here. Really depends on how much you really want to go into it. So let's say I'm all done and my shape's all set. Now I want to mask it inside of that photo, or mask my photo inside the shape. Well, first off, I need to unlock this background layer. I'm going to double click on it, make it a regular layer, drag it over that existing shape, and to create the clipping group, you'll simply hold down your Option key or Alt key on your keyboard, and you'll drag in between those layers. You'll notice it turns into the overlapping circles. Simply click in between those, and now that image gets masked inside of that shape. Well, I don't necessarily want the transparent background, so I'm going to select that layer, that shape layer. I'm going to hold down my Command key or Control key and click the new layer icon. It drops a new layer beneath that currently active layer. Go over here and I'm going to get, let's get a light color here. I'm just going to press Option Delete. Fills that background in there. And I want to give some variation to this background. So I'm going to create a new blank layer above that one. And using that same color, I'm going to grab my gradient tool and make sure that we use the foreground to transparent gradient. And over here on this blank layer, we're going to change its blend mode to screen. Now choosing the radial gradient, as you see right here, it's a second icon in the options right there. Going to just draw some gradients in this shape. And you'll notice it's giving me a lighter area, giving me a little bit of variation in color there. You can also even create a new layer and change the blend mode to multiply and make some areas of this image a little darker, maybe some areas behind the shape. Well, I don't want it to be a flat color, so I'm going to go ahead and merge all these three layers together. Just select all three and press Command or Control E, merges them together, and I'm going to go into the filter menu and go to Texture, Texturizer. And I'm just going to give it a very simple sandstone texture, and we'll keep the scaling at 100%, and the relief we'll do around 3 just to keep it somewhat subtle. And we'll click OK. So you see we've got an interesting background happening there. Well, now all I really need to do is apply a drop shadow to my shape layer. I'm just going to go over, select that, double click on it to open up the layer styles. Click on drop shadow. We'll just uncheck use global light there and reposition the lighting. And don't forget, when you're applying a drop shadow as a layer style, you can always go in here and just drag it manually depending on where you want to position it. And I think I'll drop that opacity down a little bit. And that is my shape. So that pretty much is it. If I wanted to, you can basically move the photo around if you like inside that shape. In fact, I'm going to move it up just a little bit here. And you'll notice we get a little bit of an area down here. It's not a problem. We'll just simply grab our gradient tool and sample that dark area right there. It looks like it could be black, but you never know. So let's go and sample that area, and we'll use that gradient tool and just draw a little bit of a gradient shape in there. Make sure we're using a linear gradient, of course. And there we get a nice shape in there. And if you wanted to add a little bit more to this, you can select that shape layer and throw a layer mask on it. And let's grab our gradient tool once more using that foreground with transparent, and let's make sure we've set our foreground color to black, as you can see right here. And again, up here in the options, let's select that radial gradient, and let's just drop in a quick little masking right there. So it's revealing that background a little bit through there, giving me an interesting effect. You can see using a simple shape and then applying some little twirls in it and everything like that, you can mask an image inside of a shape for an overall interesting effect. So try different shapes yourself, try different combinations of the twirls and everything like that as you see here. And I hope you have fun with it, and we'll see you next time.